True fans live for their team. For those true U of A fans, there is Hughes Federal Credit Union. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union. Smart choice.
Welcome to Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. I'm Star Sports Editor Ryan Finley here with Greg Hansen. Greg, the Arizona Wildcats did not play Saturday and Sunday, and yet it seems like they may have won. Rich Rodriguez turned down South Carolina's offer, allegedly, and will be back at least for another season as Arizona's football coach. A lot of rumors and misinformation going around over the weekend. Yeah. How close do you think he was to taking that job?
I think he took the job at one point,
yeah,
and then backed away when the money wasn't any more than he got here.
Right.
That's if everything I heard from the people I talked to, I think that's the one that I believe.
To me, it's funny when you look at the money and the money that they ended up giving Will Muschamp, who got the job when Rich Rodriguez turned it down. I mean, that money is exactly what Rich Rod makes here. You would think that for an SEC school and a coach of Rich Rod's caliber, that they might be able to pay more than Arizona, don't you?
Yeah. Who knows what they think of Arizona?
Yeah.
And who knows what the toll was of Rich Rod going to Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
At Arizona, we don't even think about that.
Right.
Elsewhere around the country, they still may think that.
Sure. It's funny, the relationship between Arizona and Rich Rod, I think he was hired and it was mutually beneficial. Is Arizona gave him an opportunity to rehab his image, win some football games, and prove that he's better than what he showed at Michigan. I think Rich Rodriguez sort of legitimized Greg Byrne a little bit as Arizona's AD and proved that Arizona can hire kind of a bold-faced name as a head football coach. Has that run its course, do you think?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so. After 4 years now, Rich Rod is struggling to keep up with his predecessors here before the Mike Stoops.
Sure, sure.
But even Mike Stoops had 3 really good years.
Right.
I mean, if Rich Rod can get to those Mike Stoops years, I can't believe I'm saying this. Stoops had 3 really good years in a row. Can Rich Rod duplicate that coming up?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it all comes down to recruiting. And, you know, I think, and we've talked about this off camera, I think that the big surprise for Rich Rod when he came here was sort of the lack of fan support and the lack of recruiting advantages here.
Right.
I think it's really hard to get a kid to come visit Tucson, especially the kind of kid you want. And I think that, you know, maybe a kid sees a half-empty stadium for a Washington State game and might not like it. Is that kind of the extent of it, do you think? Otherwise, is it a fairly happy marriage? Or?
I think that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
I think that Washington State game on homecoming, of course it was a 1 o'clock game, and it was warm if you're in the sun, really warm. But yeah, I think looking up in the stands and not being able to go in and swing shoulder to shoulder with UCLA and USC on recruiting, that's big.
Yeah.
But I think Rich Rod is not reckless at all. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew that would get out.
Sure.
Maybe he wanted it to get out.
Possible. But to what end? If it gets out, what does he get?
Well, if he doesn't get it, he can say he got it.
Right.
And then he goes back and tells the recruits, hey, South Carolina wanted me, but I want to be a Wildcat.
Right.
Did that happen?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what he's telling recruits at this point?
Well, that's what he's got to be telling them.
That's what he's got to be telling them. You know, it's funny, pivoting here just a little bit away from Rich Rodriguez. You know, Arizona plays in the New Mexico Bowl. We've talked about this before and at length, that nobody remembers what you do in a bowl game unless it's what happened in the 2012 New Mexico Bowl, which was Arizona rallied and won dramatically and was on SportsCenter for a week, or what happened in last year's Fiesta Bowl, which is Arizona comes out flat. What do you think Arizona has to gain in this game?
It has a lot to gain, but you've got to win. I think it doesn't even matter if you win by 1, I don't think.
Right.
You cannot lose to New Mexico, come on.
Right, even though it's on their home field? They've won more games than you?
They've been awful for 10 years.
They're 7-5.
But this year they were okay. I watched them play against Utah State. They were awful. They won the game too.
Right, oh I know.
Tells you how bad Utah State was, but you can't lose to New Mexico.
Right. So there is something at stake in the New Mexico Bowl.
Yeah, you got to save your image. They're putting their image on the line. If you go there and finish 6-7 with the loss to New Mexico,
it's going to be ugly.
It's going to be tough enough on Rich Rod now anyway because they're not going to be good next year.
Right.
And a lot of fans feel betrayed.
Well, never a dull moment.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment, never a bye week. We've talked all year about how Arizona didn't have a bye. They finally get what amounts to a bye, and this happens.
Yeah.
So never a dull moment at Arizona football. That'll do it for this episode of Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. For Greg Hansen, would you go to South Carolina?
I've been to South Carolina. I'm not going back.
I'm Ryan Finley. We'll see you next time.
True fans live for their team. They buy the gear, they order the tickets, they pay for the seats and the experiences. For those true U of A fans, thankfully there is Hughes Federal Credit Union, offering the latest payment choices such as U of A debit cards, paying online, paying a friend with pop money, or using Apple Pay with your mobile phone. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union, smart choice.